Welcome back to Ferocious Education. This is Zed. Today, we're going to be talking about Camber Energy, going with the ticker CEI. Another critical update for this one that needs to be addressed. So without further ado, let's jump right into this one. My last video is in the description below, but we have amazing news for the last 2 days and a price action that we need to talk about, especially today. So in terms of press releases, there's none currently since August 24th, 2021, and we already talked about a lot of that. Investor presentation is not updated. The last SEC filing comes back on the 22nd of September, and we did talk about that before. That kind of information was mainly pertaining towards their accounting firm that was dismissed, Mericom LLP, and that they will be submitting new filings in the next few weeks or a couple of days or so, whatever the time range is. They haven't really decided. They said in soon, and they will be submitting that again. And the most important thing is that some of the numbers of the total shares and the shares outstanding will be clarified and updated for that, because it wasn't actually reported accurately previously. Now, in the current volumes, it is currently hitting historical volumes at currently almost 1 billion shares traded today. Now, that is quite massive. It hit its 52-week high today and broke that, almost reaching towards $5, I believe around $4.80, and that's a critical thing we need to talk about as well. And in terms of the total overall changes and everything in between, everything is positive. As you get to see, this one went from around 33 cents almost all the way to $5 with very minimal news. So that on its own is very critical to discuss in where we go from here. Now, in terms of the price over sales, this is around 1,042. The SP 500 is around 5, so you get to see the insane number. Price over book is around 1533. It's around 3 times more over kind of dressed or overvalued than the SP 500. So that's something to consider, that the current ratios and the fundamentals aren't there, and this is mainly a momentum volume movement, and that's where you need to understand that it's not perhaps going to move on fundamentals, but basically on people's feelings. So this is what we're really addressing today. Now, on another side, from SEC filing, we said we did not have much information. Institutional buyers, very similarly, you're able to see Bank of America and Virtue Financial recently liquidated, but you do have a good amount of institutions still onto this one. Blackstone alternative investment funds, they actually shorted this one almost 11,000 shares back on the 27th of August. Now, that on its own is very interesting for me for one big reason. If you were to take a look into the price of 27th of August, you're talking not a long ago. 27th of August was actually around 130. So that means today on the top of the height, they probably were around 4 times at a loss, 400% lost, and it doesn't show that they actually liquidated their position yet. So it's quite interesting. Again, it's a very small position, but Blackstone really got hurt from this one from what I see. On another thing, insiders were very quiet. They haven't really bought or traded into anything. But the very interesting thing is the short shares availability. There's currently only 5,000 shares available for short selling at this current moment. And what we're able to see is the short borrow fee rate is sitting at 687, incredibly cheap to short sell. And that on its own is a very interesting thing to consider. That there's not a lot of short selling. There's not a lot of short borrow fee rate that is high skyrocketing, and 6.8% is very low for short selling fee borrow rate. And as you get to see, people are comfortable short selling. Yesterday, there was around 61.74% of all the entire volume of 366 million being short sold. Today, we're hitting almost 1 billion. And the information that's going to come out is going to show that it's probably sitting around 50%. Now, granted that some of this movement was actually a bit of a short squeeze as well. But the question is, with that very small short fee borrow rate, you might actually have a massive tug war between the two. And that will be very interesting to see. Before we discuss this further and talk about technical analysis and what's probably going to happen in soon, make sure to drop a like to this video if you've actually enjoyed this video so far. Make sure to click the subscribe button on the bottom right corner and leaving notifications on for this channel. And as always, don't forget, if you'd like to join our Discord, it's totally free. We're not trying to upsell you anything. We don't do pump and dumps. It's basically a chat room. Now, retail. You would notice that some new names started to come up in the retail chains. There's a lot of buzz for this one. This stock almost reached 1 billion shares as an entire flow, and that's almost billions of dollars. What is it, $4 or $5 billion in the height of today, where we've actually seen circulation? That's massive. But The people who are actually where if you watch my last video where I highlighted the retail part that were in the forefront of this move had a price target, and that price target was met. It was around first $3 and then $5. Well, if they say $5, if they're actually trying to push this one, they're probably selling around $4.50, or at least the majority part. So for sure, it feels that they're out, and there's new faces that are trying to push this one to what, maybe 10, 20? And that is a big part of it that we're going to discuss in a second. Let's move on quickly towards technical analysis. Now, from a technical analysis perspective, what we get to see here is that all the moving averages are indicating bullish. Currently, we're going to get a golden cross in the next few days by Friday. And that's a very bullish thing, and it usually even showcases further movement of bullish action. And there's a trading action zone where most positive reversals occur between the 10 SMA and the 30 EMA, and that's currently between the 213 and 152. In terms of average directional index, what we get to see is this is above 50. And if you watch any of my videos or the educational series I have in the description, above 50 you need to start worrying about this reversal. And there's more to it than just technical analysis I'll discuss in a minute. Now, William %R is sitting in neutral. It's neither overbought or oversold, and that's a key thing to take care about. MACD and momentum are basically raging. They're moving up with very strong bullish action. 203 on momentum, and MACD is ever so strong. It's very bullish, and that's a critical thing to take care about. In terms of stochastic fast and stochastic slow, currently the slow is indicating this might be a good time to sell based on historical prices, and it's not wrong. The fast is indicating that there has been a very much of a retraction of volume. There's a massive uptick that was basically lost in price, that the momentums are shifting, and be very careful because it can go south really bad and really fast. In terms of the moving averages bands and Bollinger Bands, this one is currently expected to trade at 311 on the Bollinger Bands on the top and 18 cents on the bottom. The moving average bands are a little bit low in the mid ones, but you get to see they're climbing up. Usually that's a good sign, but volumes are so ever much one of the highest volumes ever recorded, and that is on its own very impressive. But what you got to be very careful about is with this much volume and not this much movement retention, a lot of people might actually be very nervous holding around 450s and 4s, and that creates on its own some resistance, so you got to be very careful on that. Similarly, we've seen in times where high volume spikes happen, if it doesn't follow through with a larger volume the next day, what happens is it takes a massive drop. So you got to be very careful about this. In terms of Fibonacci retracements, what we do get to see is that there's currently a top resistance of 485. The next one, 388. Now supports are 312, 259, 206, and 140. If we take in the last 1 month, and we take, let's say, a 15-minute interval, we're able to put a point on some key resistances and supports. So today alone, current resistance sits at 349. Above there, 352, and then 365, 385, 402, going up to 424, 443, and 485. There's a bit of a one at 473, but not as important. Supports, 342, 339, 319, going down to 314, around 299, and then downwards to 268, and then downwards to 243. Comes to the question, Ed, what do you think is going to happen here? Well, sooner or later, the people that were pushing it from all the way from around 33 cents and bought around there and bought around lower than $1 and pushed it and put a $3 price target at first and then said after 3 we're going to go to 5. But they really kind of mentioned that that was their main target, 5. And really what makes me think is they probably sold a bit at 280 and a bit at 450 or 480, and just currently are going a little bit more quiet about it and just watching everyone take currently this one, see if they push it up higher. Cool, nice, people will think I'm a genius. If it drops, hey, I only said around 3 and then maybe 5, and that's what I said, and I was right. And basically you got to understand that there's basic motives on this one. Be very careful because we're not going on news or fundamentals. It's a very dangerous play, but the rewards can be successful. But if you bought from sub dollars, consider selling and at least securing your capital. That should be 1/3 of your total market value right now. So what do you think about the sticker? Make sure to mention down in the comments below. Sure, subscribe and like, and have a wonderful day. Now, if you're still here on this video, make sure to drop down below and join our Discord. We have a lot of different things going on, including, for instance, members that gives picks for free. It's not pump and dumps, we just things we think about, swings, etc. We also have really exciting bots. You can actually use those ones. For instance, we're just testing out this bot, for instance, that gives you Fibonacci resistance points, activities, etc. And we have a bunch of free things, totally free. We run on tips here, and you can ask me questions, suggest stocks, etc. It's a really nice community that has been growing up very fast at a very good rate, and it's totally free. If you would like to join that one, feel free to do so in the description below, and have a wonderful day.